Hello, good morning, friends. Yesterday we left off with old React here in this section, and we saw that the synchronous state of rendering. So let's see once again what we did yesterday. So from the code perspective, we have defined left, right clicks, and we have counting the all clicks and we have total number of counts. So here we have uh, like in handle right click when clicking on right side we are using concat to display the R in this manner. Let's see LR. If we create this, then something like this. Now let's see if I can build the project. Uh, Now, after that, we are calculating the total number of clicks that have been made to both buttons, like left and right combined. Forgive me if my local machine is slow. Let's see, state. Let's read this through. State a component's memory. Generally, it shouldn't take that much long, but due to my hardware issue, it's taking longer than expected. Let's reload this. I thought I started this. Let's clear this. And okay, so it's doing its job. Oh man, even though I'm like doing okay, it's resolved. I will soon upgrade my hardware, but not today. So I and you guys have to put up with it. Let's see, but before everything works, let's go through things again. So this is something I did in my previous. So let's remove this. It is not needed anymore. Now in my main component, React DOM, React DOM client, and so this is the one way to access in my app component. I'm defining the main files. Let's see, open up inspect. Inspect, we see console, and I think it's starting. See if I do any kind of enter or well, you know what? Let's start reading this. In this course, we use the state hook to add state to our React components, which is part of the newer version of React and is available from version 16.8 onwards. Before the addition of hooks, there was no way to add state to functional components. Components that required state had to be defined as class component using the JavaScript class syntax. Okay, so I think this is valuable information that hooks was introduced in React version 16.8. Before that, we have no way of handling state, and we have to work with class component if we are handling with state. Let's run the project. Cool. Let's reload this and boom. So in this, yesterday we were doing something like this. Button press history L, then right, then L. So we have counter of left button, counter of right button. Then we are displaying the press history, like which one was pressed and then so on, and the total number of clicks made. Okay. Uh, so let's read this through. In this course, we have made the slightly radical decision to use hooks exclusively from day one to ensure that we are learning the current and future version of React. Even though functional components are the future of React, it is still important to learn the class syntax as there are billion of lines of legacy React code that you might end up maintaining someday. The same applies to documentation and examples of React that you may stumble across on the internet. We will learn more about React class components later on this course, but first of all, debugging React application. I think this is worth knowing that how should our application should be debugged, because if any kind of error encountered, then you don't know how you will find it. A large part of typical developers' time is spent on debugging and reading existing code. Every now and then we do get to write a line or two of new code, but a large part of our time is spent trying to figure out why something is broken or how something works. Good practices and tools for debugging are extremely important for this reason. Lucky for us, React is an extremely developer friendly library when it comes to debugging. Before we move on, let us remind ourselves of one of the most important rules of web. The first of all, keep the browser's developer console open all times. That is what I have done. Console tab in particular should always be open unless there is a specific reason to view another tab. Keep both your code and the web page open together at the same time all the time. If and when your code fails to compile and your browser lights up like Christmas tree, don't write more code but rather find and fix the problem immediately. There has yet to be a moment in the history of coding where code that fails to compile would miraculously start working after writing large amounts of additional code. I highly doubt that such an event will transpire during this course either. Old school print based debugging is always a good idea if the component like const button. We are destructuring the props of on click and text right here. Then in the button component, we are sorry, in button element, we are using on click and text. This is not working as intended. It's useful to start printing its variable out of the console in order to deliver it. In order to do this effectively, we must transform our function into less compact form and receive the entire props object without destructuring it immediately. Yep. Since we know what kind of data has been passed here as a props, this will immediately reveal if, for instance, one of the attributes has been misspelled when using the component, and B, when you note when you use console.log for debugging, don't combine objects in Java-like fashion by using the plus operator. If you do that, you will end up with rather uninformative log message like prompt value is object. Instead, separate the thing you want to log the console with comma. In this way, the separated item will available in the browser console for further inspection. Logging output to the console is by no means the only way of debugging our application. You can pause the execution of your application code in the Chrome Developer Console's debugger by writing command debugger anywhere in your code. Let's see how you do it. All I have to do is write debugger. Is that what it? Let's see. I would like to write debugger here. Debugger. That's it. I okay, so that's how it is. Pause in debugger. So here, let's see if I reload this. In my app.jsx, okay. Mm, so here it encountered debugger. So let's read what it exactly is. Using the debugger statement. The following example shows code where debugger statement has been inserted to invoke a debugger if one exists when the function is called. Example step through. So this is how it's done. Okay, but um, I'm not even understanding what exactly it is. Let's see if possible. Yeah, it is. So in my debugger, I do have debugger paused. Let's run, then stop. Left. If I go down, if type is 3, use state, left. One set left, then use state. All clicks in L, then encounter debugger, then handle left click, then inside the handle left click, it set it the left to 1, total 1, and go to right click and okay, um, set it right to 0 and printed it. Okay, so that's how it actually did the job. So let's see. And my console. Once the cause of the bug is discovered, you can remove the debugger command and refresh the page. See if I refresh the page, then everything works fine. So, the debugger also enables us to execute our code line by line with the controls found on the right hand side of the source stove. You can also access the debugger without the debugger command and by adding breakpoints in the source tab. Inspecting the values of the components variables can be done in the scope section. Values of the components variable. Where was it? Here in the source code. So what they were saying that I can see the value of variable in the scope. Let's see if something like this occurred here. Then the scope is not. It is 33, 34 line number in app.js. Call stack, stack breakpoint, DOM breakpoints, global listener, and we should wait. Okay, this stuff is interesting. Let's put it back and read this. It is highly recommended to add a React Developer Tool extension to Chrome. It uh, adds a new components tab to the developer tool. The new developer tools tab can be used to inspect the different React elements in the application along with their state and props. React developers tool. Let's say I'm not that much of a fan of it, but let's use this extension. This page here, right? It's a React developer tool. Wow, what a joke! Doesn't it using React components? I think it's not worth it after all. Let's remove from our browser. Now, let's continue read this. The app component state is defined like so: left, right, and this. DevTools show the state of hooks in order of their definition. The first state is contains the value of all left state and blah blah blah. Let's jump in the rules of hook. There are few limitation and rules invalid hook code that we have to follow to ensure that our application uses hooks based state function correctly. The useState function as well as the useEffect function introduced later on in the course must not be called from inside of loop, a conditional expression or any place that is not a function defining a component. This must be done to ensure that the hooks are always called in the same order, and if this isn't the case, the application will behave erratically. To recap, hooks may only be called from the inside of a function body that defines a React component. So hooks can be defined inside this component function. Wait time. Hmm. So rules of hooks are pretty much says that you can use hooks inside the function components. Use state function as well as use effect function. Got it. Event handling revisited. Event handling has proven to be a difficult topic in previous iterations of this course. For this reason, we will revisit the topic. Let's assume that we are developing this simple application with the following component tab. We have a value we set to 0, and there is a button that we are using to set it 0. Okay, we want the clicking of the button to reset the state stored in the value variable. Definitely, in order to make the button react to click event, we have to add an event handler to it. Event handlers must always be function or a reference to a function. The button will not work if the event handler is set to variable of any other type. React would want to support this in a console. Let's see. I would like to see this. Let's clear everything in my app. I have this. I'm gonna use export default, right? I'm going to import use state from React, export default const, cost. What the hell is that? Export default function, and by using this, I think it should work. So look this. So the initial value is 10, and we would when clicking on this. So let's see if I pass event handler calls on click, and inside the on click I will be console logging click. Let's see, reload this. Nothing happened because what we are doing is basically on click. Okay, so what we need to do is let's say we create a function called const reset to 0. Inside that function, what we do is value to 0 and set value to update match the value. Yeah, and inside that we call reset to 0 function here. Let's do it like this. So reload, and when I click on this, assignment to constant variable. Yeah, right. Mm, let's see how they did it. So this will go to value of string type. Let's see if I do this. This will go to value of string type. If I am getting the error, this will be value of number type. It will not work either. Event handler is not a function but a variable assignment, and React will once again issue a warning to the console. This attempt is also flawed in the sense that we must never mutate state directly in React. What about the following? So it's just gonna render the click the button. So once when the command is rendered, but nothing happens when we click the button. Yeah. Why does this not work even when our event handler contains a function console.log? Well, because the issue is that our event handler is defined as a function call, which means that the event handler is assigned the returned value from the function, which in this case is console.log is undefined. The console.log function calls get executed when the component is rendered, and for this reason it gets printed once to the console. The following attempt is flawed as well. We have once again tried to set a function call as the event handler. This does not work. This particular attempt also caused another problem. When the component is rendered, the function set value to 0 gets executed, which in turn causes the component to be re-rendered. Re-rendering in turn calls set value 0 again, resulting in infinite recursion. Executing a particular function call when the button is clicked can be accomplished like this. Yeah, now the event handler is a function defined with the arrow function syntax. When the component gets rendered, no function gets called and only the reference to the arrow function is set to the event handler. Calling the function happens only once the button is clicked. We can implement resetting the state in our application with this same technique. So what we do is set value to 0. Is that what they are saying? If I do something like this, we set to 0. So this worked because inside that I'm not using anything now if I want to do, and all I have to do is reset, and when I click, it's working fine. Hmm. So the event handler is now the function. Defining event handlers directly in the attribute of the button is not necessarily the best possible idea. You will often see event handlers defined in a separate place. In the following version of our application, we define a function that then gets assigned to the handle click variable in the body of the component function. Something like this, handle click. The handle click variable, which references the function definition, is passed to the function button as the onClick attribute. Okay, naturally, our event handler function can be composed of multiple commands. In these cases, we use the longer curly braces. Here is just this, did this. Now we are doing this curly braces syntax for arrow function. A function that returns a function, that means higher order function. Another way to define an event handler is to use a function that returns a function. So let's see, you probably wouldn't need to use function that returns a function in any of the exercises in this course. If the topic seems particularly confusing, you may skip over this section for now and return it to later. I think let's go through this very quickly. So we have a hello function. Inside that hello function, we are having a handler function which prints to the console saying hello world, and we return the handler. So that means hello function return another function, and inside the conflict we are using it as a function rather than as a variable. Okay, so the code function correctly even though it looks complicated. The event handler is now set to a function call. Yeah. Earlier we stated that event handler may not be a function call, rather it is has to be either be a function definition or a reference to one. Why then does a function call work in this case? Yes, I have the same question in my mind. When the component is rendered, the following function gets executed. So when hello function is called, then this function will be executed, and we are actually returning that function as well. So that means it is indirectly a reference to the handler function when the hello function is called. Is that what it means? The return value of the function is another function that is assigned to the handler variable. When the renders this line, it assigns the return value of hello to the on-click attribute. Essentially, the line gets transformed into something like this. Yeah, I thought so. Since the hello function returns a function, the event handler is now a function. What's the point of this concept? Let's change the code a tiny bit. Inside the hello, we are passing the props as well. We are then passing the hello function here using as a function call. Now the application has three buttons with event handlers defined by the hello function that accepts a parameter. The first button is defined as button click. The event handler is created by executing the function call, and this is this. Okay, so I know exactly what is happening. Let's click this, skim this through. But what I want to say is that they have very detailed explanation of each and everything. Let's see, we are moving directly to passing event handlers to child components. Let's extract the button into its own component. So inside the button, we have a button element in which I'm passing on click event handler, which has a props or dot on click. So this is the button component. Okay, understood. The component gets that event handler function from the on click prop, and the text of the button from the text prop. Let's use the new component. So basically what happened that we have created a separate button component. Inside that button component we are passing the props as a properties, and inside that button component we are returning this button element, and in that button named element we have an event handler called onClick. And if we destructure the props, then we will get that we have onClick and text embedded inside the properties. That is what we are returning as a props. So we accessed it, and in our main app component we created three buttons, and inside those we are in the first one we are setting value to 1000. So what happens is that when I click on the first button, the value here is set it to be 1000. And we have another button in which we set to value to 0. So that means if I click on this button, then it will have a reset. The value would be resetted. Using the button component is simple, although we have to make sure that we use the correct attribute names when passing props to the component. Yep, this one. Do not define component within components. Let's start displaying the value of the application in its display component. We will change the application by defining a new component inside the app component. Okay, this looks interesting. Let's copy this. But before that, uh, let's commit this out quickly. gst dot gci minus m learning props, no, learning function calls, and no, what should I say, like learning event handlers in React. So let's also quickly reset to 0. Let's say const handler. Inside that handler, what I'm doing is console logging resetting to 0, and after that I'm setting the value to 0. So what happened is that and I am returning the handler function here, and what I'm doing is I'm doing a function called reset to 0 here. So this is something interesting that I didn't know before. So if I encounter in some messy legacy code base, then I know exactly what is happening. So passing function call in event handler. So let's comment this out, and we have that. Let's look into the new thing and quickly import all the necessary thing. Use, use state from React. Now we have our button component. Find a component button. Then we have an app. Oh, the component cannot create component during render. Components created during render will reset their state each time they are created. Declare component outside of render. I see. So what we are doing is we are creating a component inside this. Let's see. I don't know why it's always keep doing this. Bad uh, component inside component. Bad practice will always set the value to its initial value. Okay, so let's look at the our file, like what is happening. So it says, okay, wait. Mm, let's quickly do this. Set if I can increment is okay 1000. So it's giving me that this component is created during render will reset their state each time they are created. But in this example, let's say if I initial value is set to 0, if I click on 1000, then I set 0, then I click on increment 1000, then increment, and if I set to 0, increment 1000. Okay, so I don't think there is any kind of problem with that. The FLS still appears to work, but do not implement components like this. Never define component inside of other components. The method provides no benefits and only leads to problems. One such problem is that React will treat a component defined inside of another component as a new component in every render. This makes it impossible for React to optimize the component. Let's instead move the display component function to its correct place, which is outside of the app component. Okay, let's do that. And press this. Okay, so honestly, if I don't see any kind of error or misbehavior from the like UI perspective, then I don't really understand the intent behind this line. Okay, so I think we have concluded this useful reading. The internet is full of React related material. However, we use the new style of React for which a large measure of the material found online is outdated. Mm, 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 mm. We can Skype to React. Both codes and concept that will also no, the first one uses class components, but the later uses the new functional ones. Web programmers also programming is hard. Yeah, no shit. That is why, as a developer, I will use all possible means to make it easier. I will have my browser's developer console open at all times. I will progress in a small steps, making sure that my code is working at each step. I will write many console.log statements to make sure I understand how the code behaves and how to help pinpointing problems. If my code does not work, I will not write more code. Instead, I will either start deleting the code until it works or return to a state where my program was working. When I ask for help in the course Discord channel, then so I will formulate my question properly and how to ask help. So, utilization of large language models such as ChatGPT have proven to be very useful in software development. I mean, share. Personally, I mainly use GitHub Copilot, which is now literally integrated into the Visual Studio Code as a reminder. If you're a university student, you can access free. Copilot is useful in a wide variety of scenarios. For example, Copilot can be asked to generate code for open file by describing the desired functionality in text. If the code looks great, Copilot adds it to the fix. The case of our example, Copilot only created a button. The event handle reset click is undefined. An event handler may also be generated by writing the first line of the execute function. Copilot offers the functionality to be generated. Yeah, like I know all these things. Mm. The usefulness of Copilot and other language models in programming varies. The biggest problem with a language model is hallucination. LLMs sometimes generate answers that may seem correct. Okay. So now we have exercise that will submit all the exercise of one party in a single submission. Once you have some of the exercise were on the same application, in this case, it is sufficient to submit just the final version of the application. If you wish, you can make a commit after every finished exercise, but it is not mandatory. Run the command below from the root of the project. That means what I'm doing is currently removing the node modules directory and freshly installing them. If and when you encounter an error message object, keep in mind things tool here. Yeah, right. We are passing directly the object as a react. This one. I know that. So for that we have to like use a map. Let's see. Unicaf step one. Like most companies, the student restaurant of the health, University of Helsinki, Unicaf. This is looks really interesting and tasty. Don't understand the language. What is all this? Let's see. Your task is to implement a web application for collecting customer feedback. There are only three options for feedback: good, neutral, and bad. The application must display the total number of collected feedback for each category. Your final application could look like this. Let's see if I can do that. Component, see, okay, so main. Note that your application needs to work only during a single browser session. Once you refresh the page, the collected feedback is allowed to disappear. I see, so I'm not using a storage session for storing the values. It is advisable to use the same structure that is used in the material in previous exercise file. Okay, I do have that, and you can use the code below as a starting point with the objects. Let's do it. Okay, so inside that I have an h1 tag stating give feedback, and then I have three buttons. Inside that button I have go. I don't know why it's keep good, neutral, then bad. Then after that we have H2 states. s- Let's write full. No, I'm gonna still write states. So in that span, I will have good. Here's something. I'm going to pass good. I'm going to pass neutral. Pass bad. So let's do neutral and as bad. Now, uh, on each on click event of the buttons that uh, we have defined, mm, let's make a function. So const handle good has nothing, and what we do is set good counter to good plus one. Inside all, I'm going to do it same. Handle neutral. So in that set neutral, I'm going to do a neutral plus one. Then handle bad. In handle bad, I'll have bad as well. Then I will set bad. So what I will do is I will pass a function reference to all of them, like handle code, sorry, handle code, like this. Then I will have handle neutral, this. Then handle bad, like this. I think it should work now. So now if I click on good, counters should be shown. Okay, let's do one break. And I'll have similar break here. So when I click on any food, good, bad, when I refresh them, they are gone. So our statistics look good. So let's say 1 point, what was it? 1.6 unicap gst g dot gst dash unique cap. So let's say exercise 1.6 unique cap staff 1 is a main and done. Sorry for the inconvenience. My throat is sore today. Now I have another uh, task. Expand your application so that it shows more statistics about the gathered feedback, the total number of collected feedback, the average score, and the percentage of positive feedback. Let's say I can like add another BR. Inside that span, I will have all counts as total, and then I will have BR tag another, and then I will have average as average AVG. Then I will have another one. Inside that I will have positive count percentage and a positive percentage. So for that, all I have to do is create some function which takes all of this. So let's see what we have defined: total, average, and positive percent. So let's do this. Const total, set total, initial value would be 0. Now all I have to do is total avg, set avg, positive percentage, set positive percentage, and I will create, let's say, three functions in which I will have handle total. Inside, what I'm doing is setting total to the good plus neutral plus bad count, and then I will have my handle avg function. Inside that, I am getting the average of set avg. So what I'm doing is set total divided by 3. Then inside another hand, set positive percentage. So let's say um uh handle, let's say, positive percentage, that'll be capital. And I will have a function calling to it. So set handle set positive percentage. So what I'm gonna do is that I will have good divided uh by total, and will multiply by 100. I think it should give me the values that I need. It's clicking good, neutral, bad. But then again, I do have created this, mm, but inside, mm, let's say handle total this. How will I display this here? Total counts. Mm, Only I can have like let's see. Mm, the total. So inside the span, I cannot call. on click because it works on buttons. And uh, for the display purpose, can I use like on change here? Let's look if it's working or not. Of course, it's like working. So which is not good. Mm, let's see. Let's see. We ask with ChatGPT to help it with this task. So here I want to display the good total, sorry, the total average and good percentage. I immediately prompted to create a functions but stuck at where to call it. Is that approach valid? Your instinct is understandable, but this one though important regulation. Not everything should be state. Right now, you created state for this one, yes. But those states are actually derived from other state. That means they should usually not be stored separately. You only store minimal source of truth. Everything else should be calculated from it. So current approach is problematic. Then total should be 8. But if you forget to call handle total, your UI becomes inconsistent. This is called duplicated state. And duplicated state cause bugs. Another bug in your code is this. Setter is the setter function itself. So you accidentally did function by the oh correct approach is we have this 3. So total will be this. Okay, so all I have to do is yeah, I immediately thought of this. What I can do is const total is equal to good plus new neutral plus bad. Let's see if this yeah right. Let's see const average is equal to plus to total divided by 3 const positive percentage would be like good divided by total by 100. Let's see. Good, neutral, bad, neutral, zero, average. Yep, I think everything working. Pieces coming together. All I have to do is create variables. Oh. Okay, so those are some good exercises, and I would like to savor it for tomorrow. Let's see. Let me commit this. Um, Exercise 1.6 will be a 7. And that's it for today, folks. Thank you for joining with me. If you're watching, and we will start with the Unicap step 3 tomorrow. That's it for today.